Gaslighting doesn't destroy your confidence all at once. It erodes it slowly, quietly, in ways you don't notice until one day you look at yourself and wonder where your certainty went, where your voice went, where your sense of self went. It usually starts small. A comment here, a tone there, a raised eyebrow when you express how you feel. You're overthinking that never happened. You're too sensitive. You always make things dramatic. At first, you brush it off. You assume they're just tired. Maybe you misunderstood. Maybe you are reading too much into it. You don't want conflict. You don't want to seem difficult. So you doubt yourself instead. And that's how it begins. Gaslighting doesn't attack your confidence directly. It attacks your perception. It makes you question what you saw, what you heard, what you felt. And when you can't trust your own reality, everything else starts to crumble. Your brain is wired to seek stability. When someone consistently contradicts your experiences, your mind tries to resolve the confusion. And the easiest way to do that is to assume you must be wrong, not them. Because if they're wrong, the world becomes unpredictable. But if you're wrong, the world still makes sense. So you start editing yourself. You replay conversations. You soften your opinions. You hesitate before speaking. You apologize even when you don't know what you did wrong. You start using phrases like, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I imagined it. I might be wrong. But that language becomes your identity. And slowly, your confidence doesn't just weaken, it disappears. You stop trusting your memory. Stop trusting your emotions. You stop trusting your instincts. You stop trusting yourself. And when you don't trust yourself, you become dependent on the very person who's destabilizing you. That's the cruel paradox of gaslighting. The more someone makes you doubt yourself, the more you rely on them to tell you what's real. You ask them what they meant. You ask them if you're overreacting. You ask them how you should feel. You ask them what really happened. And every time you do, you hand them a little more power over your mind. This is how confidence dies, not through loud destruction, but through quiet confusion. You don't wake up one day feeling worthless. You wake up feeling uncertain. And uncertainty is the enemy of confidence. Confidence comes from knowing who you are, what you feel, what you believe, and what you deserve. Gaslighting scrambles all of that. It replaces clarity with doubt. It replaces trust with hesitation. It replaces self-respect with self-questioning. And the scariest part, you start gaslighting yourself. You invalidate your own emotions before anyone else can. You dismiss your own pain. You minimize your own needs. You tell yourself you're dramatic, needy, too much, even when they're not around anymore. Their voice lives in your head. That's how deep it goes. You might notice you've changed. You used to be sure of yourself. You used to speak freely. You used to trust your instincts. Now you ask for reassurance constantly. You fear being wrong. You fear upsetting people. You fear expressing yourself, not because you're weak, but because your sense of reality has been destabilized. And when reality feels unstable, confidence cannot survive. Gaslighting doesn't just affect your thoughts. It affects your nervous system. Your body becomes hyper. You scan for signs of disapproval. You overanalyze tone. You walk on eggshells. You prepare explanations before you even speak. You live in a state of quiet anxiety. And anxiety and confidence cannot coexist. One thrives on certainty. The other feeds on doubt. You might also feel like you're losing your personality. Things that once made you start fading. Your humor softens. Your opinions blur. Your passions dim. You become quieter, smaller, more careful, not because you want to, but because you're trying to survive emotionally. You're trying not to be wrong, not to be difficult, not to be misunderstood, not to be too much. And in doing that, you slowly erase yourself. This is why gaslighting is so devastating. It doesn't just hurt your feelings. It rewires your identity. You stop asking, what do I feel? You start asking, what should I feel? You stop asking, what do I want? You start asking, what will keep the peace? You stop asking, is this okay for me? You start asking, is this okay for them? And every time you choose that comfort over your truth, your confidence shrinks. Because confidence is built on self-trust, and gaslighting destroys self-trust. You might wonder why it's so hard to leave, why you still crave their validation, why you still think about them, why you still doubt yourself even after the damage is done. It's not weakness, it's conditioning. It's conditioning. Your brain learned that safety comes from agreement, that peace comes from silence, that love comes from shrinking. So when you finally try to stand up for yourself, your nervous system panics. It feels dangerous. It feels wrong. It feels selfish. But it's not. It's healing, rebuilding. Confidence after gaslighting isn't about becoming louder or tougher. It's about reconnecting with your inner voice, the one that was silenced. It's about asking yourself, what do I feel? What do I think? What do I want? What do I need? And listening, even when it feels unfamiliar. Especially when it feels unfamiliar. Because confidence doesn't come from proving anything to anyone. It comes from knowing. Your self-gaslighting teaches you to distrust yourself. Healing teaches you to come back home. You will notice small moments at first. A thought you don't suppress. A boundary you don't explain. A feeling you don't apologize for. A decision you make without asking for permission. These moments are quiet, but they are powerful, because each one rebuilds a piece of you. And one day, you'll look back and realize something incredible. You don't second-guess every word. You don't ask for reassurance constantly. You don't feel confused all the time. You don't shrink anymore. Stand not loudly, not dramatically, but firmly. You know what you feel. You know what you deserve. You know who you are. And that is real confidence. Not the kind that shouts, but the kind that doesn't need to. If you've been I want you to know something. You didn't lose your confidence because you were weak. You lost it because someone taught you not to trust yourself. And that can be UNAARNED. Slowly, gently, patiently. You don't need to rush. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to be who you were before. You're becoming someone new, someone who listens to themselves, someone who protects their reality, someone who doesn't apologize for existing, someone who doesn't shrink to be loved. So ask yourself this: when was the last time I trusted my own feelings without asking for permission? And what would my life look like if I finally believed myself? Because your confidence isn't gone, it's waiting for you.